So, Hudson County View made the trek over to the law offices of Thomas J. Mallon, the attorney representing ICE agent Ricky Patel, against Union City Mayor slash State Senator of the 33rd District, Brian Stack. So, Counselor, thank you for the time. I really appreciate it. So, just a brief rundown of the lawsuit for those that haven't had a chance to read it or hear about it yet.
Well, a little over 2 years ago, my client Ricky Patel, who's a federal agent, was living in Union City. He had an apartment there. Just happened to, unbeknownst to him, he had the mayor living next door to him. A couple of weeks earlier, the FBI apparently raided City Hall. Mr. Patel was not involved in that raid in any way. Ricky was not. But 2 weeks later, his apartment apparently became the subject of surveillance at the hands of the Union City Police Department. He was unaware of that until his roommate at the time, a gentleman who was living with him while he was searching for an apartment after the Sandy storm, another federal agent told him that there was a message that was left on his car. A message was left on Ricky's car from the Union City Police Department, dated December 1, 2012. It said, "Your vehicle is part of an ongoing investigation. Please contact Detective Sergeant Losas or Lieutenant Luster as soon as possible. Phone number 201-348-5800. Ricky had seen Ricky's car had there was a placard in his car that indicated he was a federal agent. Apparently, this car and his roommate's car was also a federal agent who had a similar placard. Came to the attention of the mayor, and Mayor Stack apparently had this surveillance conducted of Ricky and his roommate, and somehow it apparently was related to the fact that Town Hall had been raided. We don't know why they were doing this surveillance. We don't know how they thought Ricky was connected, but all of a sudden he gets this notice to contact the police. He does that, and he also goes to ask the person that he thought was a police officer sitting out in front of his house what's going on. She used some language to him that I won't repeat at this time. She then contacted Senator Stack, who's the mayor, and also the director of public safety in Union City, I understand. And he showed up and used a lot of bad language and said things that we put in our complaint. We filed it before the statute of limitation ran out, which would have been 2 years from the date of this incident, December 3rd, 2012. We filed it the day before Thanksgiving, and the complaint is a 1983 civil rights action against the police department, against the mayor in his capacity as public safety director. He ordered the arrest of Mr. Patel. Mr. Patel was taken into detention. He was brought into police headquarters. He was questioned. They wanted to search his home. He wouldn't consent to the search of his home, despite repeated requests by members of the police department to search his home. And then right after that, he gets a notice that the state of New Jersey Department of Community Affairs sent him a notice to all the tenants of his building that their apartment was going to be searched by an inspector from the state. This coincidentally happened after the police wanted to search his apartment.
And there was no reason given.
There was no. Well, the reason was. There was no reason. It just says, notice to all of the tenants, this building will be inspected by the state of New Jersey. If you cannot be at your apartment, kindly leave your keys with the owner, super, or neighbor. And this was Sean Daly, inspector, date of inspection, December 5th, 2012, time 10:30 to 11:30, property 605 New York, number 701, which was Ricky's apartment. So, very coincidental that that was happening right after the officers, at the behest of Senator / Mayor Stack / Public Safety Director of the Union City Police Department, wanted to search this apartment. Mr. Patel was, he went in I don't think he really had a choice to go into police headquarters. He went in peacefully and eventually was released. The people that he worked for suggested that he get out of that apartment right away. And he was happy in that apartment, but at that point, with all this having taken place, his superiors suggested that he move, so he moved. It cost him money to move. It was very inconvenienced. He was greatly inconvenienced by this, and that's part of our claim here. He was taken against his will. His Fourth Amendment rights were violated, and this is all because apparently because the mayor was upset that a federal agent was living, or he thought was conducting a surveillance on him, when in fact he was only living in an apartment next door to him. That's what the case is about.
So certainly there's a lot there, you know, this is unique, something you typically don't read on a daily basis, I would think. But a few questions here. So first of all, one thing you touched on was that it was filed just before the 2-year statute of limitations expired. Any particular reason why it took this long to file something? Is it because, you know, it had to have it approved by superiors, or is there any other reason that has to do with his capacity as a federal agent?
Well, there was, I think Ricky had to get approval. He did check with superiors before he did this, before he filed this case. And he also did a lot of soul searching to decide whether he wanted to go through with this. And at the end of the day, he felt, I think, that if this could happen to him, a federal agent of the United States government, this could happen to anybody. And as you may or may not know, there have been numerous other cases filed against the Union City Police Department for excessive force, for abuse of powers. And here is the Director of Public Safety for Union City himself abusing his authority against a federal agent, saying, "This is my town, get out of my effing town, and I don't want any feds in my effing town," words like that towards Mr. Patel. And I think Ricky decided that this is not something that he wanted to take lightly, that he thought that somebody should be held accountable for what happened to him that day, and that's why he filed this lawsuit.
Now, a part of the scenario here where the story goes south is, you know, he approached a woman in the vehicle and Mayor Stack showed up and police showed up, but that woman was Mayor Stack's, I believe at the time, his girlfriend. Now, people close to the mayor and some of Brian Stack's supporters are saying, well, you know, if he identified himself as a member of law enforcement, this would have never happened. So what's your reaction to that sort of mentality, that train of thought?
He identified himself from the very beginning as a member of the federal law enforcement community. He identified himself, and the reason they were so upset was because they knew or suspected he was a federal agent. In fact, it's in the complaint. Mayor Stack said, "I knew you were a Fed," and so I don't understand their position. You know, they can't have it both ways.
Understood. And on top of that, is this the first time that you've been involved in litigation against Mayor Stack?
Well, this is the third time we've sued the Union City Police Department. 2 prior instances for claims against police officers who used excessive force.
All right, and are those cases pending, or have they since come to a conclusion?
They're all done.
And were those settlements, or did those go to trial, or what happened there?
Both were resolved to the mutual satisfaction of the parties.
Very good. And beyond that, has there been any contact with the DCA since this lawsuit's been filed? To perhaps clarify as to why the apartment search was necessary?
No,
Okay.
no, none.
And then the day the Union City Police detained Agent Patel, why did he just, take it on the chin, so to speak? Why not, call some of his superiors, or, not try to avoid it? Why did he choose to just endure it?
Well, his superiors were called, but this was a scene where police officers had guns. He had a gun himself. I think at that point they were insisting that he come with them. He took the high road. He went down there. He avoided any conflict, and his actions were the subject of a subsequent internal affairs investigation by his own his own agency, and he was fully exonerated.
All right, well, you can't argue with that. And finally, I didn't personally speak to the mayor on this one, but he told NJ.com that he's considering filing a countersuit, and this is a publicity stunt. Furthermore, Agent Patel should go back under the rock he climbed under. So what's your reaction to his remarks there?
None. We have no comment on that.
All right, Counselor, thank you very much for clarifying this matter for us. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.